So what we've got here is the Makita RT0700 router and the Katsu, well, M1DP XT10A01, whatever that is. So a lot of talk about this one, the Katsu, on a forum called UK Workshop. Some people saying that this is basically made in the same factory, or there's some kind of relationship with Makita. But having bought both now, I absolutely decided that that cannot be the case, and here's why. So cosmetically, just looking at them both, the whatever the mouldings that I've been using for the plastics, for any of the castings in here, are just different, and they're all subtly different in that if you were making them in the same factory, it would be pointless in having all those subtle differences. An example of that is basically the top, and this actually led me to believe that the electronics are completely different as well, because as soon as you get these both out of the box, the switch at the top on the Katsu, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's clicky. The dial wheel itself is quite cheap feeling, with this sort of Times New Roman type font that's used on a lot of Chinese stuff, whereas the Makita, the wheel's really smooth. And that actually leads you to believe that the way that the electronics step up and vary the motor speed is done very differently, in that when you change the wheel on the Makita, the speed is really gradual, whereas obviously with these clicks in here, the way that the electronics are working in here means that it's all done in steps. And the way that the motor responds as well, the way the Makita handles the step up is slightly different. It almost peaks the power up and then steps it back down again, whereas with the Katsu it doesn't actually do that. So those are obviously differences that tell you the motor in here is different and the control circuit's different. The Makita maximum RPM is 30,000 and the lowest is 10,000, where the lowest the Katsu does, I believe, is, I think it's 12 or 13,000, and the highest it goes to is 33. So I'll just do a little test here, and you can see when you turn these on, the noise that they make is completely different as well. So here's the Makita at the lower speed. That's the lower speed of the Makita. And then the lower speed of the Katsu. And then the Makita again. Obviously quite a lot quieter. Makita at full speed. And the Katsu at full speed. A lot of the noise from the Katsu seems to be from the fan. The fan looks different as well if you look at the ends. Here it's a black plastic, looks to be some kind of ABS, whereas in the Katsu it looks like a kind of cheap translucent white plastic. I don't know what that would be, PETG or something. But it seems to, whatever the fan design, seems to make a lot more noise on the Katsu. This dimensionally they're identical. These cylinders are exactly the same, the body's exactly the same. Very similar notches in the body for the bases. The bases have this sort of ratcheting mechanism that allows you to wind that up and down. The same on both the Katsu and the Makita bases. But yeah, looking at them on the bottom, they're very different from that respect. So yeah, it's pretty clear that they can't be made in the same factory, because the electronics are different, the plastics, the metals are different, and the way they respond and handle when you put in the device into the cut head hits a piece of material, the way the speed controller responds, it just sounds different on the Katsu than it does on the Makita. The whole reason why I bought the Katsu actually was actually to use it in a little router table. I'm trying to scale things down a bit in the workshop and getting rid of my 1/2 inch router and replacing it with that. This actually sits in an X-Carve, so I will be keeping them both, but it's not to say that the Katsu doesn't work or it's an inferior quality product, but they are different, and there's probably a reason behind that. I mean, this was $28.99 from M Tools, the Katsu, which is incredible price really for what it is, whereas I think I paid about £100 for the Makita. So, you know, over 3 times the cost there. One of the things I have bought from M Tools is the base. This is actually quite nice. Seems to be reasonably sturdy. One thing about a lot of the kit that came with the Katsu, I noticed a lot of plastics, hopefully you can see on there, just a bit kind of scuffed up, and you know, the QA like scratches over this sort of stuff. You know, it's not the same on the Makita stuff. I've never used this base on the Makita, but you know, it's absolutely pristine when it came out of the box. So I'm not sure why that is, but QA is obviously not the same between them. They're both actually made in China. Makita apparently originally was made in Japan, but that changed at some point. But as I say, I very much doubt whether or not they're the same thing. The Katsu is probably just some kind of clone that they've come up with in China based on looking at the Makita, and that's really as simple as that, really.